Okay, now we're going to work on the review packet explanations from number 22 to 24. These are solve equations and you have to check for extraneous solutions. So let's look at 22. The square root of 5m minus 16 equals m minus 2. Okay, the first thing you always want to make sure is that the square root is by itself as much as possible on one side. In this case, it already is. So if that's the case, we can just square both sides. So I'm going to square both sides here. Now you got to be careful. This is where a lot of mistakes are made. First of all, squaring a square root simply undoes it. So this is 5m minus 16. On this side, this is not m squared minus 4. It's m minus 2, close parenthesis, m minus 2. So we have to FOIL the other side. So we still have 5m minus 16 on the left side, and on equals on the right side, m squared. So I'm going to do m squared. You can FOIL or box it. I'm just going to do it quickly this way. Minus 2m minus 2m plus 4. So watch your signs here. If you're getting it wrong, I would go back and check your signs. Okay? So I have 5m equals 16. Whoa. 5m minus 16 equals m squared minus 4m plus 4. Now, as soon as you see that this is a quadratic, that means we're going to either have to factor or use quadratic formula, which means we need one side of the equation to equal 0. So I'm going to subtract 5m for both sides, and remember to line it up where it has to go. And I'm going to add 16 to both sides. Opposite operation, because we are actually solving, we are getting everything to one side. So we have 0 equals m squared minus 9m plus 20. Now this is where your factoring comes in. I'm not going to do the factoring with you. If you need some factoring review, please let me know and I can do that with you. Factoring is doing your magic X and then either the box method or the grouping method. So when this is factored out, we end up with m minus 4 and m minus 5. And I can do a quick check of my factoring because negative 4 times negative 5 equals 20. And negative 4m and negative 5m equals negative 9m. If you are sitting there and asking where did the negative 9m go, you need to go back and review factoring. Okay? You need to figure out what happened there that I ended up with m minus 4 times the quantity m minus 5. Those two things are, the way I say it is we just unfoiled m squared minus 9m plus 20, which the real term is factoring. So we factored those two. Now it's time for zero product property. And if you remember, zero product property is when we split these two factors and we have m minus 4 equals 0 and m minus 5 equals 0. So we solve it twice because, again, remember, this is where does this quadratic cross, where does the parabola cross the x-axis? So we're going to add 4 to both sides. So we have m equals 4. We're going to add 5 to both sides. We're going to get m equals 5. If you stop here, you've only done half the problem. You have to check for extraneous solution. So here's how you check. You get the original equation and you write it down exactly as it appears. 5m minus 16 equals m minus 2. Now in this case we have two solutions, so I'm going to check it twice. The first time I'm going to check m equals 4. So here's how I know I'm doing a check. I do the square root of 5 times 4 minus 16 equals, does this equal 4 minus 2? And so then I'm not going to either side, I'm just solving straight down. So then I have square root of 20 minus 16 equals 2. Is that true? Well, the square root of 20 minus 16 is the square root of 4. Does the square root of 4 equal 2? Yes, it does. So this is not extraneous, this is one of the solutions. Now we're going to come over here and say the other solution we believe is m equals 5. So let's check it. 5 times 5 minus 16 under the radical, is that equal to 5 minus 2? So again, we're not crossing, we're doing a check, so we're not solving here. So this is 5 times 5, which is 25 minus 16, equals 3. Okay, 25 minus 16 is the square root of 9. Does that equal 3? And yes, it does. So in this case, they both checked out. Okay, so you can't just stop after one. You have to check them both. All right, that's number 22. Let's try 23. 23, you'll see one very similar to this on the test. So 4x plus 17 minus x minus 3 equals 0. The first thing, the biggest mistake I see here is people trying to square at this point. You can legally square both sides, but there is a giant mess that you're going to make of x's and square roots. And so the first thing you want to do is get the square root by itself. So I'm going to add x to both sides, and I'm going to add 3 to both sides, getting the square root by itself. So now I have the square root of 4x plus 17 equals x plus 3. That's going to make things a little easier now. Okay, so now I can square both sides. Again, be careful here. There's a lot of places to make mistakes. Square rooting a square undoes it. So we have 4x plus 17 equals the quantity x plus 3, parenthesis x plus 3, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x plus 3. We have to FOIL. Okay, so I got to move over so I can move. 4x plus 17, and I'm going to FOIL x plus 3, x plus 3. That's going to give me x squared plus 6x plus 9. If you are asking if you are asking yourself where did that 6x come from, you need to go back and practice foiling or boxing. Okay? All right, I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides, and I'm going to subtract 17 from both sides because this is a quadratic. And so we need it equal to 0. So now we have 0 equals x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now again, here's where factoring comes in. So if you didn't learn how to factor, I really recommend you go learn how to factor. It's going to cause you problems from now and for forever. Okay? So then what we have here is we're going to have x plus 4 and x minus 2 equals 0. I'm going to do my zero product property. X plus 4 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. So my first possible solution is x equals negative 4. My next possible solution is x equals 2. You're not done. You have to check it. Okay, so our check. I go back and I write down my original, very original before we did anything. So 4x plus 17 minus x minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to check it twice because I have two different solutions. The first one we believe is x equals negative 4. So I'm going to do square root of 4 times negative 4 plus 17. Outside the square root is negative 4 minus 3. Does that all equal 0 when we simplify it? Okay, so this is going to give us negative 16 plus, that's going to give us negative 16 plus 7 plus 4 minus 3. I got a plus 4 by negative times negative. Then under here we get a negative 16 plus a 7. Well, that gives us a negative 9. And if you look that up and you try that, you're going to get an error because we talked about this. The square root of a negative is no real solutions. And so this doesn't work. This one is an extraneous solution. We can cross it out. And the word is extraneous. It was a product of us doing some algebra to the original. It was produced by originally messing around with the equation at the beginning. So let's check the other one. We could possibly have no solution to the whole thing. So the next thing we believe was the answer was x equals 2. So then I'm going to go 4 times 2 plus 17 minus 2 minus 3 equals 0. So we have the square root of 8 plus 17 minus 2 minus 3 equals 0. So this will be the square root of 25. And we're asking ourselves, does this equal 0? Minus 2 minus 3, does that equal 0? So then we have 5 minus 2 minus 3. And 5 minus 2 minus 3 does equal 0. So in this case, one of the solutions work. Okay? One more problem in this section, number 24. Number 24 is the square root of x minus 1 plus 7 equals 5. Again, if you try to square both sides at this point, you're going to get all kinds of weird things. So first subtract 7 from both sides. So we have the square root of x minus 1 equals negative 2. Now, if you understand square roots, you will already know the answer to this without going any further. However, let's assume you don't. Okay? So I'm going to square both sides. So what that does is x minus 1 equals positive 4. Add a 1 to both sides. So I'm saying that x equals 5. Okay, but we have to check it. So here's our check. So the square root of x minus 1 plus 7, does that equal 5? Okay, well, we only have one answer here, so let's do it. 5 minus 1 plus 7, does that equal 5? Well, 5 minus 1 is 4, so that's the square root of 4 plus 7. Does that equal 5? And some of you are already saying, nope, it doesn't. 2 plus 7, does that equal 5? No, we end up with 9 equals 5. 9 does, and that's not true. If it's not true and there's no other solution, this has no real solution. Okay? So that's numbers 22 to 24.